Installing the CPG 2.0.100.230 application. In this portion of the video, you will learn about how to install the CPG application itself via DXX file. Let's take a look at the installation checklist. First, you'll need to download and extract the CPG application zip file from the Production Center download site. Next, you will import the entire CPG 2.0.100.230 DXX into the production database. For your reference, this DXX file includes all of the necessary objects for Foundation Server 2.0 as well. Next, you will import the CPG template DXX file into the production database. This DXX contains the sample tasks and task groups necessary to run CPG from within Foundation Client. Then you will associate the new task group to the UDA named fs_task_groups for the user admin. Finally, in order to be able to use the reporting features of the CPG application, it is necessary to run the SQL script that will create the views which the CPG application uses. Next, we will have a look at each one of these items in the checklist and do them together. The first item in the CPG installation checklist is to download and extract the CPG application zip file from the Production Center download site. I have here my Internet Explorer showing the Production Center download site where I have navigated to Software CPG Suite to show you the link where you can download the CPG application itself. This DXX file includes the CPG application, Foundation Server 2.0, as well as the CPG reference implementation and the ACD project for the PLC simulation. I've already downloaded this zip file and put it in this folder here. This is the zip file downloaded. Then I extracted this zip file into this folder. The next item in our checklist is to import the entire CPG 2.0.100.230 DXX file. I have Process Designer already opened, and I'm going to the File menu, Import, and navigate to the DXX file. After it is open, I'm going to select all of the objects and click OK. If prompted, you will want to select Yes to all. You would like to be careful with this setting, however, if you are not importing into a newly initialized database. The process of importing the entire DSX can take several minutes. The CPG application DSX file has been imported successfully, and we can take a look at some of the objects it has imported. You will notice there are two application objects, one of them for the CPG application itself, and a second one for Foundation Server 2.0. If we open the CPG application, you can see what it consists of, and you'll see that many activities, activity sets, flexible state models, forms, and other objects are all used in part of this application. The next item in our CPG installation checklist is to import the CPG template DXX file into the production database. Looking again at the folder where we extracted the CPG zip file, you'll see the CPG template DXX file here. This DXX includes sample tasks and task groups that you can configure to be displayed in Foundation Client. Let's go ahead and import the CPG template DXX file. Again, I will choose Select All and then OK. If you get the dialog asking whether you wish to replace existing objects, you may carefully choose Yes to all. The CPG template DXX file imports relatively quickly. We can take a look at a few of the objects that were imported as part of the CPG template DXX. Among them are these two task groups. In order to configure Foundation Client to display these two task groups when the admin user launches the Foundation Client, it is next necessary to associate these task groups with the fs_task_groups UDA. These UDAs exist on users, user groups, or workstation. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to associate these two task groups to the admin user. We'll open the admin user, click on the Customizer button, and then the UDA tab. Notice that the user object now has this fs_task_groups UDA. I'm going to click in the value field and then the ellipse here to add two rows. They are of type string, and I need to type in the exact name of each task group here individually, one for each row. Next, I'll click OK. OK again to close the Customizer dialog, and then save the admin user. The last item in the checklist for installing the CPG application is to run the SQL script used to support the reporting features of the CPG application. These SQL scripts have been packaged together as part of the CPG DXX file that were already imported. And these are located in work instruction objects. When I expand the work instruction object, you will see two work instructions, one for SQL databases and one for Oracle databases. My environment here is using SQL Server 2008. So I'm going to use the work instruction associated to the SQL. I'm going to open up the work instruction, and then finally I'm going to click this open button. This open button will go ahead and open the associated SQL script, and when I click open, it will open it within my SQL Management Studio. Here is the SQL query opened in the SQL Management Studio. I've already selected the CPG active database. This is the one that my production database is currently assigned to. Now I will execute the SQL script. You can see that it is completed successfully. Now I have all of the views used for the CPG reporting features created in my database. This completes the CPG installation checklist. Now let's open the Foundation client from within Process Designer so that you can see that the task groups that were associated to the admin user are displayed. I will expand the forms, object. Next, I will open the CPG_Foundation startup form. This form is a template that can be used to launch Foundation Client. You will not see anything on the form from within Process Designer because it instantiates a controller class that then renders the Foundation Client. I'm going to click the Start button so that I can start this form and then see Foundation Client launch. Here's the Foundation client open, and you will see I have the two task groups displayed here under the Available Tasks pane in Foundation client. These are the two tasks that I had configured on the UDA for the admin user. This concludes this portion of the CPG installation training video. Installing and configuring the CPG 2.0.100.230 reference implementation application. In this portion of the training, you will learn how to install and configure the reference implementation application that's included with CPG 2.0. Here is a checklist that is necessary to follow prior to being ready to use the reference implementation. First, you need to create a controller in an empty slot of the SoftLogix chassis monitor. Be sure to use module type 1789L60 and optionally use a 500 millisecond dwell time. For the remaining portions, use the default values. Next, download the reference implementation ACD file to the PLC. Then create a shortcut in the FactoryTalk Services Platform admin console for the new controller. In Process Designer, you'll need to import the reference implementation DSX. The reference implementation requires sublots to exist in the database to use when executing an order. Therefore, it's necessary to create your own Peanut script to create sublots for these materials. The script is not included with CPG application or the reference implementation. However, I will show you an example of script that I use to create my own sublots. After the sublots are created in the database, then you'll need to create two activity set tasks. One for CPG order management and another for CPG order execution. Those two new activity set tasks must then be added to the CPG task group template task group. This allows those two new tasks to be displayed and made available when the CPG Foundation startup form is started. Finally, in the Foundation Server Hierarchy Object Editor, you'll need to open the objects listed in the last checkbox here in the reference implementation checklist. You'll need to open each one, shown here, and set the live data area and the PLC. The objects that need edited are the roasting line production line and the following work center templates: blending template, cooling template, hopper template, inlet template, outlet template, preheat template, roasting template, and weighing template. Next, let's see some example Peanuts script. This slide shows an example of the script that I use to create the batches and sublots of material for green coffee, roasted coffee, and cases of coffee. These sublots are then used as input material as well as produced product when you execute an order using the CPG application and reference implementation. You may choose to use your own script or save a snapshot or screenshot of this slide here and make a form with a button with this code behind it to create sublots using this code. Next, let's actually go through each one of the items in the checklist together. First, let's have a look at the extracted CPG application. Included in the extracted application, you will see a folder here called reference_application. In this folder, you will see both the ACD file that will need to get downloaded onto the PLC, as well as the reference implementation DXX file. The first item in the reference implementation installation checklist is to create a controller in an empty slot of the soft logic chassis monitor. Let's do that now. I'm going to create a new PLC in slot 3 by right-clicking on slot 3 and clicking Create. Next, I'm going to choose this default module type, the 1789 L60. Click OK. I'm going to use these default settings and click Next. And for continuous task dwell time, this is optional, but it's recommended to set this to 500 milliseconds, especially when choosing to install the reference implementation in a VMware image. Next, I click Finish. Here is my new PLC. I will right-click this and put it in program mode. The next item on the installation checklist is to download the reference implementation ACD file to the PLC. This is done in RS Logic 5000. First, I will open the ACD file. This is the one I previously showed you. You will receive a message here stating that when you open the project file, you need to change the firmware revision. This is only true if the version of RS Soft Logic 5000 you happen to be using is greater than 17.1. The version I'm using here in this recording is version 18, so I must click Change Controller. When I do that, next I'm going to click OK, making sure that the revision field is set to the revision of Soft Logic that you have installed. Mine is 18, so 18 is chosen. Now that the project is open, I need to change the slot number that's currently configured in this project. I do that by double clicking on the emulator ref coffee recipe. This should be the last item in the project. It's currently configured for slot 5, but the new slot that I created was slot 3. So I choose 3 and click OK. Next, I need to set the correct path to the slot so that I can download this program to the controller. I will select the communications menu item and then the Who active item. Make sure that the controller for slot 3 is selected, and then choose Set Project Path if it isn't already. Next, click the Download button. You may get a message stating that it failed to go online with the controller. This is because the controller in the project currently is set to the RS Logic Emulate when your slot is in 1789L60. Simply click the Change Type button and you'll get a warning, but just click Yes. It will change the slot type for you and then download the program to the controller. When you are prompted for the download, go ahead and click the Download button. The program is now downloaded to the controller, and I can go ahead and close RS Logic 5000. If you desire, you may change save the changes you have made to the project. In the SoftLogic chassis monitor, go ahead and right-click on slot 3 and put it in run mode. When prompted to change the controller to run mode, choose yes. The next item on the reference implementation installation checklist is to create a shortcut in the FactoryTalk Services Platform Admin Console for the new controller. I already have the administration console open here, and I will now expand the Explorer pane until I get to my RS Links Enterprise Communication Setup. When I do, I will double click on it. In the device shortcut pane, click the Add button. Next, you must give a new name for the new shortcut, and you may choose anything you like here. I'm going to call mine CPG and press enter. With the new shortcut CPG selected, I will now select the controller in slot number 3 on the right hand pane here. Since both of these are now selected, I can click the OK button on the bottom. It'll come up with a dialog box stating that for the new shortcut path called CPG, it is pointing to the new controller called SoftLogic's Controller 1, and you can see that SoftLogic's Controller 1 here is associated with slot 3. Click Yes to apply the changes. I'm finished in the administration console, so I can close this. The next item on the checklist is to import the reference implementation DSX in Process Designer. I have Process Designer open here, and I'll click on File, Import, and point to the reference implementation DSX I showed at the beginning of this portion of the training. Once it's open, click Select All, and click OK. When prompted to confirm replace, after making sure you have a backup of your entire database, go ahead and click Yes to all. Importing the reference implementation DXX could take a few minutes. With the reference implementation DXX installed, now I need to create sublots of material to use when executing an order. As I mentioned previously, the Peanut script to do this is not included with CPG or the reference implementation. It is up to the user to create their own script. And as I've shown you in a previous slide, you may use that code on my slide to create your sublots. I'm going to go ahead and open the form. And when I run it and click this button here, it will execute the code and create sublots. The next step that we need to do is create two activity set tasks. Create the activity set task by clicking right here, right-clicking. I'll name the first activity set task CPG underscore order management. And I need to choose which activity set is associated to this task. And that would be the CPG underscore order management activity set. I'll save this activity set task and create one more. I'll name the second activity set task CPG underscore order execution. And associate it to the CPG order execution activity set and click Save. With the two new activity set tasks created, let's go add them to an existing task group. I'm going to add mine to the CPG task group template. I've opened up the CPG task group template, and now I'm going to click the green plus button here and choose the activity set tasks. The first one, and then the second one. The order in which you add them to the task group does not matter. I will save the CPG task group template. And finally, we're at the last item in the reference implementation checklist, which is to set the live data area MPLC for the foundation objects. To do this, what we must do is open up the CPG foundation startup form, and run it. Once the Foundation startup form has launched and Foundation client opens, the first thing you'll notice in the available tasks pane are the two activity set tasks that you just added to the CPG task group template. They're shown here. Those will be used when you create a new CPG order and execute the order in a later portion of this training. For now, we need to click on the Foundation Server Hierarchy Object Editor. The reference implementation checklist, last check item, is to set the live data area and PLC for the objects production line as well as work center templates. Let's expand production lines and open the roasting line. You will need to use the live data browser in the lower right hand portion of the screen and browse to the live data area where you have your RX Links Enterprise configured in the Services Platform Admin Console. If you remember, mine was located in the FTPC_area, so when I select this, I can drag this into the live data area field and it will automatically type in the entire path to my live data area. In the PLC field, I need to provide the shortcut that I created in the admin console. Remember that I named mine CPG. You must be aware, though, that you must put the shortcut name in braces, or in other words, square brackets, like you see here. I'm going to save this production line. The reference implementation does not need to have its packaging line, production line edited. Next, I'll expand Work Center templates. I'm going to need to open all 8 of my Work Center templates that were described on the checklist and edit the live data area and PLC for each one of those using the exact same values. I'll start with the blending template. You'll see that it has a predefined live data area and PLC values here. We need to overwrite these values with what we used for the production line. And save. The next one I'll do is cooling. For your reference, it does not matter which order you edit these objects in. It's only important that you edit each one. Next one here I'll do is roasting. And last, weigh. You probably noticed that I did not edit case packing, filling, grinding, or sleeve packing. Those were also not listed on the reference implementation checklist for editing. Those Work Center templates are used for the manual portion of order execution. And since manual ordering execution does not require the automation layer, those values do not need changed. Those are all the editing of objects we need, and the reference implementation is ready. The next portion of the training will show you how to create a CPG order and execute that order. Creating and executing an order using the reference implementation. In this portion of the training, you will learn how to use the installed reference implementation that has previously been installed and configured to create a new order and execute that order. Before we actually start creating the order, you must first make sure that the soft logic slot with the downloaded reference implementation is in run mode. Shop Operations Server must be configured to use the event sheet that was previously created for Foundation Server, and Shop Operations Server must be launched. It is important to open the CPG Foundation Startup form in Shop Operations so that we could perform order management and order execution. Also, several instances of Shop Operations must be opened with each one running a form that is used for manual execution. The 4 manual execution forms that are open in Shop Operations Server instances are shown here. They are manual grinding, manual filling, manual sleeve packing, and manual case packing. Here in my Production Center instance, you will see I have the soft logic slot in run mode. I have Shop Operations Server started. I happen to have it in console mode here just so that we can see it executing. And here I have the 4 manual forms running each in an instance of Shop Operations, as well as the CPG Foundation Startup form here. I'm going to click the Order Management task. The Order Management will display a grid with all the current orders. We're going to click Create to create a new order. You may enter a unique order number or select Get Next to have it generate its own. For Material ID combo box, choose Coffee Case. This is the final product, the product that we're going to be creating or producing, and the quantity you would like to order. I will choose 1,000 kilograms. You must enter a unit of measure with the quantity, or use the ellipse button. Click the Dispatch button at the top. Here you're given the opportunity to assign different resources, materials, or process parameters to the order. We will use the default. We do not need to make any different changes here, and so we click the Finish button. You will see that the new order is in a state of ready. Click the Quit button to get out of order management, and then under Available Tasks, choose Order Execution. Select the new order and click the Materials button. We must assign materials, or rather sublots of materials, that we previously created when we ran our peanut script from Process Designer that created sublots of materials that we could use as our raw materials. Choose Green Coffee row and click Sublot. You will see a list of the different sublots in your database of green coffee. This one here is one that we previously created. Select it and choose Finish. Click the row for roasted coffee and click the sublot button. We must indicate a batch name and sublot prefix for when we actually produce our roasted coffee. This is not the final product, but an intermediate product. The prefix on the sublot that we wish. Click Finish. Click the row for roasted coffee and click the sublot button. choose a sublot of roasted coffee to use as a raw material. I'm going to choose this sublot here that we created from our peanut script. Click Finish. And finally, choose the row Coffee Case and click the sublot button. This will be our produced final product. Then click the Finish button. Click the Finish button once again. Next, we are ready to create our sequence. With the new order selected, click the Sequences button. Then click the Create button. At the bottom of the screen, you can see that you can change the number of sequences you would like to create. It defaults to 1 here. We do not need more than 1 sequence, so just click the Create button. A new sequence will be created with the sequence identifier of 0, shown on this left grid, and the quantity that had been ordered. And on the right, you will see a list of all the process steps that are created as part of the sequence. Click the Finish button. Now we are ready to start executing this order using Foundation Client as well as the manual operations portion of order execution. Click the Start button. Now the order should be executing. If I look over to our Shop Operations Server console, you will see the order is going through execution. Once it is fulfilled going through the automated portion of its execution, we should see the order appear in the first manual step, which is grinding. I've switched over to the manual grinding form, and we will wait here until our order is displayed. You can see that our order is continuously processing here through all of the process steps for the automated portion of the execution. Do not be alarmed by this exception if you run it in a console as well. This is normal. Here is our order. It has shown up in our manual grinding form. The step after manual grinding happens to be filling, so I'll also have that form fronted here as well so that we could see them together. Double-click the order in the grinding form, and you can record consumption for the manual portion of grinding. Just click Consume, and then click the Complete Step button. That order will be finished, and in the filling form, you should see the order appear. After manual filling is sleeve packing, and after sleeve packing happens to be case packing. So I have these additional forms here open and fronted so that we can continue. From the manual filling, I'm going to double click the order and simply click Complete Step, indicating we had filled. Next, we go to the sleeve packing form and double click this row. Here's our order here showing up. This orders show up on these forms as part of the messaging service that's being run on the Foundation server event sheet. Click Complete Step. Finally, over at the case packing form, you will see the order displayed there, and double click the order there. This is where we are going to indicate now how many cases of coffee we ended up creating, as well as a batch name and sublot name for them. And then the quantity produced. Once you've entered these fields here, a carrier name, by the way, is optional and is not required. I'm going to click the Produce button. The cases of coffee has been produced, and now I can click Complete Step. The order has now been completed through its processing, and if we go back to the Foundation Startup form here and go back, we can see that the order is in fact completed. This concludes the execution of our order and demonstrating the reference application.